Rolling. Did you push record? Yes. You did. We're rolling on part 2 on this gorgeous day in January 30th at UCLA, where the sun is still trying to shine. And we're going to hear from Arun, who's going to share with us the effects of reducing the U.S. corporate tax rate down to 20%.
Hello everyone, my name is Arun.
Hi Arun.
Now, unfortunately, I have to admit, I'm here to talk to you about one of the two certainties in life, taxes. Now, I hope that this will not lead you to the other certainty of death through boredom. So I'll try to entertain and I'll try to inform you as much as I can, to the extent I can. So to try to entertain you and try to simplify the tax process, let me provide you an analogy. So you can think of two balloons being pumped. One balloon is being pumped by someone like me. Clearly not the most gunned person in the room, not the strongest person in the room. The balloon will pop at a slower rate. And right next to me, Arnold Schwarzenegger is pumping the balloon. Clearly he will pump the balloon at a much faster rate and that balloon will pop. Now that's the difference between the current American tax system and what the American tax system will be if the corporate tax rate is turned down to 20%. That is what we're addressing here today, is the effects of the corporate tax rate going down to 20%, specifically in the United States. And to address that, we'll be looking at threefold reasons. Number one, we're going to see that overall services will be cut. Number two, we'll see that a reduction in corporate tax rate will disproportionately benefit the wealthy Americans. And number three, rather than padding the pockets of employees, we'll pad the pockets of employers. Now, before I get into my analysis, you may ask, why do I deserve your ears for the next 3 minutes? And it's very simple. Taxes affect all of us. Whether we're young, starting out, and we have to worry about childcare or our parents' income, or whether we're all college students and have to worry about loans, taxes will indirectly or directly affect us throughout our whole entire life. So let me go into my first point of the number one effect the number one effect of corporate taxes being cut, and that's overall services being reduced. And the reason is, is because that in order to compensate for taxes being cut, spending needs to be reduced to compensate. And according to the New York Times, in a report from January of 2018, we see after 70% of historical tax reductions, that has been met with service cuts in the forms of social services, whether it be streetlights, school education, and other forms of welfare. So what this means is if the corporate tax rate is cut to 20%, it will need to be compensated by a reduction in other forms of services, which will hurt everyday Americans. Now that moves on to my second point, as to how the reduction in corporate tax rate will disproportionately affect white-collar employees, or the top 2% of Americans. Now the reason being is that, according to the Guardian report on August of 2017, 75% of people who are directly affected by corporate tax rate are white-collar employees or people who fall under the 2%. So we're seeing that this benefit of tax reductions is only affecting the people who are already doing well in America. And in a time when the wealth keeps on getting concentrated to the wealthier and to the wealthier and to the wealthier as the years progress, it needs to be concentrated more to the middle-class Americans. And that moves on to my third point, or my third effect of the corporate tax rate being reduced to 28%. And that is that the employers will disproportionately benefit. And to evidence for this, we look to an economist financial analysis done just in 2018. Now this indicated that back in 2008, when the financial crisis happened and America had to bail out certain companies, when the companies received these stimulus or revenue packages, the revenue didn't go to the employee, rather the money went to the employer, and their salaries rise, not the employee. So in the end of the day, we see that some proponents of the reduction in tax rate may say the wages may increase for everyday Americans, but in reality, the wages will increase for the CEOs of those corporations, not the employees of those corporations. Now, in conclusion, we have heard that a reduction of the American corporate tax rate to 20% will lead to a reduction in services. It will disproportionately affect the top 2% of Americans, and will also disproportionately affect the employers, not the employees. So now, although there is a lot of work that needs to be done by Democrats and Republicans to come together to the table, it is clear in the status quo, we would much rather have someone like me pumping that balloon than someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Thank you.
Thank you. The time was 4:51.
Perfect.
All right. You already spoke, so sorry, young lady. Yes, sir. What'd you like?
Hi, I'm Ramin.
Ramin?
Ramin.
Ramin. Hi, Ramin. What'd you like?
I like the fact that you brought in Arnold Schwarzenegger, and just kind of, taxes are a very difficult topic to make entertaining, and you said you were going to make it entertaining, I still didn't believe you, but then when you did that, I was like, alright, that's actually kind of a cool way to bring it about.
Right. It was difficult for me to think of something creative.
That was a really good way to
to loop around, but ended up working out.
Yes, it was a very vivid story. I heard people laughing and tittering, and when you have your audience laughing with you, as one of our assistant debate coaches the other night commented, you have them with you. You have built your credibility. They like you. So if you have the ability to get your audience to laugh with you and tell a good joke, you're half away there. So don't hesitate to work in some humor. I recommend you practice jokes ahead of time and make sure they're funny. I've seen people fall flat with jokes and then they freak out.
Yeah.
But
right.
Yours worked nicely. Yes, Mr. Hurley. How can he improve?
I thought you did good.
Start with your name.
Oh, my name's Sapon.
Hi, Sapon. Your name was
I thought you
Hurley.
did-
You're an advertiser, huh?
Yeah. So I thought you did pretty good. I liked how he made us laugh with the joke, and the analogy was pretty good. I didn't really have any criticism because he had energy too, and he like had the hand motions and stuff. He did the
I
little,
did.
the little
Went down to the ground.
I mean, he had everything.
Yeah.
He was perfect.
I did extemp briefly 1 year in high school.
Good. What high school?
Torrey Pines High School. I did congressional debate
In
for 4 years, San Diego.
In San Diego.
Yeah, correct.
It's a good high school.
It is. For Lincoln Douglas, especially.
Yeah.
Or at least it was. I don't know how it is now.
Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, start my time. All right. Yeah. Well, you took the a good pessimistic position and the standard position on this campus. So most of the students, I'm sure, loved your speech about, how bad this tax cut we have is going to be and will be and has been.
Yeah, I definitely inserted my own political opinion.
Yeah, and
of course.
which is great, and just be aware you're doing it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
No. I was aware. Yeah.
Love your intro, and I love the fact that you acknowledged, and by the way, I want to mention this to all of you in picking topics. Econ topics can be deadly. The gross national product, it's inside baseball. So you got to be careful with getting too technical. Yeah. So that was good. You gave us a good preview. Your SIG statement was good. You gave us the New York Times, as we know, fake news, which said,
Of course.
in
Yep.
the past, my emphasis,
Yeah.
78% of the time, social services have been cut.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was you suggested because it happened in the past, it may happen in the future.
Exactly, yeah. Like a,
So-
historical precedent argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We won't say anything about the fallacy of that. We'll just say it happened in the past, maybe it'll happen
More
in the future.
likely to, yeah.
Likely. On your second point, you didn't have the time, but, you know, this is, again, this is a real debatable point about whether this is really only benefiting.
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean,
the
of course, it affects everyone, but the direct effect
Right.
was the 75%
Right.
workers. That's what I was trying to get at.
My trouble with your second point is when you watch yourself tonight on YouTube,
We'll do.
you didn't cite your evidence or the date. You said The Guardian.
Did I not? I thought I said August 2017.
Yeah, trust me, when you watch yourself tonight, you can apologize
Okay.
to me next week.
Okay. I know. I just thought I said. I thought I did.
No, you didn't.
Okay. My apologies.
Okay. And then you said employers are not passing it along to their employees in the past.
Once again, historical argument.
Historic argument.
Historical precedent.
So all these Home Depot and IBM and all these other,
Yeah.
you know, Starbucks and all these other silly companies that are giving these employees these raises now.
Yeah.
You know, these are just, according to the New York Times, these are, or Nancy Pelosi,
Economist,
these are
Economist
crumbs.
for those.
I know, economists. These are
Economist.
crumbs,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Your summary and conclusion got mixed up. So, and I told you pedagogically, and it's just the summary says I've given you 3 things, so say it as a summary. In conclusion, there should be no doubt in the room.
Right.
The thing is negative.
Yeah.
And the balloon tieback was excellent. Did I make it fire?
Yeah. You have a minute.
I have a minute? Oh, okay. Other than that, good. Thank
Okay.
you. Well, if you're not afraid to move.
Yeah. Right.
Good.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
It's a program. There's actually a University of California campus that all UCs.
Okay, next.
Hear about it.
Oh, I have to call on somebody? Okay, good. Can I have the roll sheet back? Who has the roll sheet? Oh, he's not here. Okay, I call on. Oh, she just did it. She just did it. Will Miller. Great last name. Outline.
I'm sorry.
Outline. I need your outline.
Oh, got it. Sorry.
Thank you, Will.
All right. Hello, everybody. Professor. What if I told you there was an occupation where retirees left with 2 things? 1, a big pension, and 2, a debilitating brain disease. First, you'd be saying, yes, that big pension. Second, you'd be saying, I don't know about that brain disease. Unfortunately, this is the reality for most NFL and football players. The disease they leave the field with is CTE, or chronic traumatic encephalopathy. According to a Boston University 2017 research article, 99% of retiree NFL players have CTE. And according to another Boston Research University 2017 article, chronic traumatic encephalopathy is the buildup of a protein called tau in the brain. As the protein builds up, certain functions start to take over. They have depression, aggression, and eventually they'll have dementia, progressive dementia. I want you guys to think about the wildfires that happened last quarter. As the wildfires gained momentum, they got closer to campus, and they tore everything in its path. That's essentially what CTE is. It is a disease that just eats away at your brain until it's no more. This is very personal to me, because I have a friend who plays college football right now, and I don't know if he's going to make it to the NFL, but if he does, he could be putting his life in danger. So today, I want to talk about how the NFL can solve the CTE problem through science. I believe they can solve this through 3 ways. Better helmet design, marijuana utilization, and third, better diagnoses. The reason that we should all care about this is because this doesn't only affect NFL players. This kind of research can affect all traumatic brain injuries. So if you're in a car accident, if you hit your head, whatever happens, this research will, in the future, be useful for you. So the first thing I want to talk about is better helmet design. Now, it's no secret that the helmet is the most important part of the football player's equipment. It's the first and last part of their defense against all their injuries. And, helmets are great, but they can be improved. And according to a 2017 CNN article, they found a helmet called the Visas 01 that has made these improvements. This helmet has 4 layers instead of what was previously 3. And has other designs that help mitigate the effects of traumatic brain injury. I want you guys to think about a car crash. Would you rather be hit from behind or from the side? I think we'd all say we'd be hit from behind. And that's basically what this helmet does. It's kind of like a little fender bender. You're going to have a little bit of, there's always going to be that kind of damage, but it'll be lessened. And if Craig could have this helmet and get 1 less concussion, he could save his life. The second reason that I think science can better help with the CTE problem is the utilization of marijuana. Marijuana has been shown to have qualities that activate the parts of the brain that repair the brain from traumatic injuries like this. According to a Civilized.Life article in 2017, the Journal of American Medicine Association did a study that found that the active psychoactive drug in marijuana has these effects of restoring brain function to places that have had it. So if you were to use that, if Craig were to use that, it could not only increase his football career, but it could increase his life. The third and final reason I want to discuss why science can help the CTE problem is through better diagnoses. According to a 2017 LA Times article, the only way we can really diagnose CTE is when the person is dead. Obviously, this isn't really suitable because the person has to be dead. But recently, they found a protein called CLL11, which has been present in the spinal fluid of active athletes, and this could be the key to understanding and spotting CTE before it takes over and the person's dead. So, in conclusion, I think, In summary, I've given you 3 reasons: better helmet design, marijuana utilization, and better diagnoses. 3 reasons why these 3 reasons could be used to better understand and help the chronic traumatic encephalopathy problem. That's it.
Thank you. Time?
5:48.
5:48. Okay, we are somewhere. I guess we'll be here. Yes, sir. What'd you like?
My name is Arun. Hi there.
Hi, Arun.
what I liked, so this seemed to be like a really like science-heavy topic. So I liked how you, when you were discussing the science facts, you sounded very credible, like you knew the facts, and I think that's very important in discussing technical kind of subjects. So good job on that.
Thank you, Arun. Improvement?
Improvement. I would definitely say more purposeful hand movements.
No, the next person.
Hi, I'm Irlanda.
What's your name?
Irlanda?
Ilanda?
Yes.
Hi, Ilanda.
Hi. In terms of improvement, I think you made eye contact with everybody, but you only came with us towards the very end, so I think you should be a little bit more strategic with your eye contact. But other than that, I liked how you personalized the speech by including your friend.
Okay. Well, I like the topic, and I like the unique way you approached it, and I like the way you tried to have a story with every one of your reasons. I like the way you tried to not go over time, but you really were way over time. And, well, Will, when you watch yourself tonight on YouTube, you'll see that your intro was almost 1 minute and 33 seconds. Hoo-ha! That was long. Don't need that much intro, right? So, cut that out and cut it down. I noticed you called it a hook, and it was kind of a definition, you know. I'm glad you didn't say it every time and define it, seek to. That was excellent. I like you could have started with just this arresting statistic, and I would have made more of it, that 99% of all former players have CTE. 99%. You know, stress the 99. You know, they all have it. You know. Not good. Wildfire analogy. I don't know that we needed it. Your personal story with your friend Craig. Good. Okay. I know you have it for each time, but I'm not sure about it. Your thesis was brief and to the point. That was good. Your significant statement was, I liked it. You said, we all can benefit from this kind of research because there's trauma we get in an auto accident or just falling or whatever. Or, there's trauma that comes from playing soccer and other things too. 2 minutes left?
Three.
Okay. Yeah. On your main body, you had good evidence for your quadruple helmet, or whatever it is, quadruple padding. I would like to hear that it's working, that it really significantly precludes, stuff I read says that it's really tough, even with a helmet, because of the nature of the brain, the way it's situated inside the skull, it still bounces around a bit, So, on your marijuana claim, despite what Arun said, I would prefer you not quote civilized life. Ooh, yeah, I don't really take that so much as a very credible source for scientific evidence, although the original source was the American Medical Association. And frankly, my BS detector went off when you told me that all we have to do is smoke a couple joints and CTE goes away, But hey, what do I know? Right? So, if you're going to make such a claim, let's see some more evidence, and not just from sketchy sources, okay? Yeah. Diagnosis was fine. It was good, and I like the CLL11. That was good research there from the LA Times in 2017, and Strep 2017, yeah. Summary, yeah.
1 minute.
Conclusion, fine. And what's a tieback, Will?
would have been to talk about Craig and how it affects everybody.
What is the tieback supposed to do?
Tie back to the intro.
Supposed to what?
Tie back to the intro.
To the intro. Come the full circle. So, you said a lot of money. You started with this beautiful thing. It pays millions of dollars, but you die. So maybe you go to $1 million, and maybe you could still make $1 million, and you won't have to die, or some clever thing like that.
Yeah.
Thanks, up. Thank you, Leo.
Thank you.
Okay, next. Thank you for volunteering. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I am Kaylin.
Hi, Kaylin.
Hi. So when I say the names Sandy Hook, Charleston, Orlando, Vegas, something that they all have in common is that we all associate them with mass shootings. The reason why there are not any foreign cities on that list is because mass shootings are mostly a U.S. problem. If the U.S. wishes to significantly decrease the number of mass shootings that take place, we need to adopt stricter gun laws that resemble those of foreign nations. All of these changes that I'm about to suggest are not overly dramatic, but they could have dramatic results. Most of us know someone or know someone who knows someone involved in a mass shooting. This should not be the new norm, and we need to take steps towards ending this appalling violence. The first way in which we can deter mass gun violence is to establish a mandatory waiting period when purchasing firearms. In the US, if you decide on Monday that you want to buy a gun, you can buy that gun that very same Monday. All you have to do is pass the 5-minute background check, which I will come back to in a moment. This background check, like I said, only takes 5 minutes and is the only waiting period you have before you purchase your firearm. In most other places around the world, such as Australia, there's a mandatory waiting period of at least 28 days before you can buy your gun. You might be thinking that establishing a mandatory waiting period wouldn't do anything because if a person was determined enough to shoot up a lot of people, they would still do so after the waiting period. This might be true in some instances, but in a 2017 Harvard study looking at the effects that waiting period played in gun violence, the researchers discovered that when states enacted a waiting period of just 5 days, there was a 17% drop in gun homicides and a 6% reduction in suicides. While these numbers aren't exactly staggering, they are a good start to seeing a reduction in mass shootings. The second way in which we can reduce the number of mass shootings is to change the way we classify domestic violence. In a 2018 analysis of mass shootings that occurred in the US between 2009 and 2016, 54% of these shootings were related to domestic or family violence. While there is already a law known as the Lautenberg Amendment that prohibits the purchase of a firearm if you have a misdemeanor of domestic violence, there is what is referred to as the boyfriend loophole. This loophole exists because in order to be convicted of domestic abuse, you must actually be married to, have a child with, or live with the person who you committed the assault against. This allows for a lot of gray area that doesn't qualify people to be registered for domestic abuse, even if they have committed violence. Part of not allowing people with a background of domestic violence to purchase guns is to rewrite the law that classifies what constitutes as domestic violence. In doing this, we can better restrict the sale of firearms to those who don't, or to those who have a history of domestic violence. The third way in which we can significantly reduce the number of mass shootings is to ban the gun show loophole. This loophole allows people to legally purchase firearms without a background check as long as the person who's conducting the sale is not doing so as a part of their regular business. So example of this would be someone selling someone else a gun from their personal gun collection. A 2017 survey by Harvard and Northeastern estimate that roughly 1 in 5 firearm transactions occur without a background check. This is a major issue
as it makes it quite easy for someone to legally purchase a firearm, regardless of the information that might become apparent during their background check. With the abolishment of this loophole, we could have more control over who is legally buying a gun. In summary, I have shown you 3 ways that establishing stricter gun laws could significantly reduce the number of mass shootings in the U.S. With the installation of a mandatory waiting period, a more open definition of what constitutes as domestic violence, and the abolishment of the gun show loophole, we can see a significant reduction in the number of mass shootings. This brings me back to Sandy Hook, Charleston, Orlando, Vegas. We want to remember the cities in our country for their array of unique charm, rather than the tragedies that occur there. If we can impose stricter gun laws, we will be taking steps in the right direction to make this possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please. Wherever we are on the road, who hasn't said what did you like?
Hi, I'm Cheyenne.
Hi, Cheyenne.
Hi, Cheyenne.
And I really liked how you tied back to your introduction that you mentioned the major cities that we all are familiar with mass shootings to get us really interested into your speech.
Yeah. It was an illusion, we call that, and it was a familiar one. We'd all heard of these terrible tragedies, and so that brought those memories forward. Thank you, Cheyenne. Improvement?
Hi everyone, my name is Erica.
Hi, Erica.
So I really liked your speech. It had a lot of flow to it. Just a minor constructive comment, just keeping more eye contact for a longer period of time. That's about it. But overall, your speech is really great.
Yeah, Taylor. Oh, you had a comment. Yes, sir.
So my name's Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
So I liked all the information that you had. I just felt like the significant part that it had to deal with for California wasn't as direct because, being at UCLA, we live in California 364 days out of the year.
Oh, I should have said San Bernardino. I don't know why I didn't say San Bernardino.
That would have been
Stay in the power
Yeah.
stand. Yeah.
And then on top of that, though, California does have, it already abolished the gun show ban. That's already been implemented in California. In California, you have to wait 10 days to buy a rifle or a shotgun. You can only buy one handgun every 30 days. And then if you don't pick up your weapon in 30 days, you have to go through another background check.
So I should have mentioned that, federally, because California is one of, only 3 states that does that. So that's.
But otherwise, perfect information.
Okay, good. So Ryan had some thoughts about how well your evidence proved your assertion. Remember, A-R-E? 3 parts to an argument: our assertion, our reasoning, our evidence, right? Reaching that conclusion. We always want to make sure that evidence matches, that it actually proves what we're supposed to be proving. But I will always like to start on the positive. You're a likable speaker, and you chose a good topic that's very important, and you were quite sincere in your efforts to address the problem. Let me say that I think that I would like to first address this issue of you using the card so much, and what can we do to help you with your memory? How can I help?
How can you help me? Or
Yeah, no. Leo, how can Leo help you? How can I help you? Yeah.
Just practice more.
Yeah, practice more, yeah. Try that meta practice of speaking aloud, the outline, just short bits, forward and backwards, know it. And trust yourself, just say it. Know the material and say it. Yeah, because it really hurts your credibility. I was watching the news on CBS, and there was a young lady that likes to read. Anybody see the morning news on CBS today? No one watches TV. But she noticed that there were no black
3 minutes.
people in her books. Heroes, villains, any kind of black people. So she decided she wanted to find books with black characters in them so that people that read books would have more models to choose from that were black. And she talked for a long time without notes. And Gail, one of the Oprah's friend on the show, said, "You've been talking to us for 5 minutes without notes. How do you do that? How did you master that magic?" She said, "Well, I like to read, and I remember what I read, and I'm passionate about what I say, and but it was really quite impressive when someone can speak extemporaneously and not have to read so
2
much."
minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes. Okay, we'll zip through this now, Caitlin. I'll get to the big point. I disagree with Ryan even more than Ryan disagreed with you. I didn't think your evidence really got at the problem very significantly. Yeah, because your Harvard study only talked about a drop-off in homicides and suicides, but not in a reduction in mass shootings. Your second reason of domestic violence, there was absolutely no link to, or no evidence that people that, a majority of the people that do mass shootings are domestic violators, right?
I guess I should have clarified that, like, a technical mass shooting is like 4 or 3 or more people.
More.
So
Yeah.
it's not like it happens more frequently than like.
Yeah, and the same with the gun show loopholes. You didn't draw a causal link between the shooters got their guns at gun shows. They didn't. They got them legally. What I really felt that you needed to do, and I'd love to hear you after class, because he's going to stop me. He's my disciplinarian here, so I could go on for days on this one. Is that, these people are loco in the cabezas, they say, south of the border. These people are crazy. These people need psychological counseling, and we don't have really a very good system in place to catch these people. We don't have a good waiting period. We don't have a good system to evaluate them. We don't have a good system to identify people that are dangerously, psychologically, to keep them away from guns. Relatives can't report them and get them committed and so forth. Am I out of time? Yeah. And let me just see if there's any other big... That's the big thing, okay? That was the big thing. You got everything else down. Yeah, that's the big thing. That's enough. But let me end on a positive note. I like you as a speaker. You're a likable speaker. So keep up the good work. It was very much like what I commented on the last speaker when she said, and the third reason why, and the first reason why this will reduce mass shootings, and the second reason, just make sure your evidence really does link to a reduction in mass shootings. Okay? Thank you.
You have time for one more, and you have to hand out those midterms.
I have time for one more, and you have to get the midterms today. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, old taskmaster. How's my battery?
It's fine, it's fine.
It's good.
Yeah.
Okay, one more, ladies and gentlemen. Sarah's going to do the second one. She freaks out. DT, okay, Ramin, Kravitz, Kravitsky, Ramin.
Yeah.
Okay, rock and roll. Ramin. So we'll do this one again. Blue. Okay, we're rolling, sir.
Alright, hi guys. My name is Ramin.
Hi, Ramin.
There's an ancient Chinese proverb that says the greatest danger is underestimating your opponent. My topic is about whether or not Bernie Sanders would be the best nominee for the Democrats in the 2020 election. People say that this election, based on Trump's current approval ratings and other things that have occurred in the political landscape, is a shoo-in for the Democrats. But that's the same thing we heard in 2016. So if the Democrats want to avoid the same fate that they faced last November, 2 Novembers ago now, they must elect Bernie Sanders as their nominee for the party. This is for 3 reasons. 1, if you look at Bernie Sanders' likability and popularity amongst the American people, you'll see that it's a foolish decision not to nominate him. But also, if you look at his stance on issues that resonate with voters, as well as his ability to be unconventional, just like his opponent, Donald Trump, you'll see that Bernie Sanders is a better candidate than some might portray him as. And whether or not you realize this right now, who the Democrats decide to run as their nominee in 2020 will ultimately affect you and potentially your children. It'll affect your ability to get health care. It'll affect how much you pay in taxes. And it'll affect whether or not you live in a country that's actively in war or is engaged in foreign conflicts or any other things. So, with that being said, quick disclaimer, this entire argument is based on the fact that he will run against Donald Trump, but that's more than just a guess. It's an educated prediction. If Donald Trump chose not to run, he'd be the first president since 1968 to not run for re-election, and he's been holding campaign re-election rallies anyway since 2017. So it's a pretty educated guess to assume that he's going to run. So the first reason I mentioned is that Donald Trump is an unconventional candidate. He has a huge ability to dictate the way in which voters see him. He has 46.5 million Twitter followers, according to an Intercept article from January 14th, 2018. He also has 23 million Facebook followers, 8 million Instagram followers, and he has Breitbart News and Fox News continually pushing his agenda for him. On top of that, despite being uncharacteristically, unhistorically popular, he still won 63 million votes, and at the same time, he's politically incorrect and gets away with it. Bernie Sanders is also unconventional and can rival that. He has a grassroots support network, he has a large social media following, and he has diehard supporters such as the Bernie or Bust movement people. The second reason that Bernie Sanders would be an ideal candidate for the Democrats to face Donald Trump is that he resonates with voters on issues that matter to them, the same issues that got Donald Trump elected. According to an article from The Hive from October 27, 2017, about a third of Americans are socially conservative but economically liberal, which is a place that Bernie Sanders can play to. He understands that people are tired of foreign wars, their jobs being shipped overseas, and corporations getting bailed out. And he has a track record to boast that and to back that up. At the same time, people don't want illegal immigrants coming to the country for a large part, and they also don't want their guns taken away. He's a strong record as a senator for promoting gun rights, and he's also been against open borders because of the way that they reduce wages for working class Americans. So he can boast that and rival Trump in those on those issues. And lastly, Bernie Sanders is the most likable politician in America. According to a Harvard-Harris August 2017 poll, the most recent one, he has a 75% approval rating amongst all Americans. That's according to a Washington Post June 15, 2016 article. That's 73% amongst black voters, 68 amongst Hispanics, 62 among Asians, and 53 amongst white voters. He's an 80% approval rating amongst Democrats. That means this guy can bring together a country that's being brought down by partisan divides and has a changing political landscape and unite this country's entire coalition. In summary, I've shown you why Bernie Sanders has what it takes to defeat Donald Trump in a general election, and that's why the Democrats should vote for him. They can make the same mistake that they made in 2018 or in 2016, but if they realize that Bernie Sanders has what it takes in terms of resonating with voters on the issues that matter to them, having likability that matters amongst voters, and being able to rival Trump in his unconventionalness, it'll be smart for them to elect Bernie Sanders as their frontrunner for their general election. Thank you.
Thank you. Where are we? Here, I guess it's Mr. Miller.
Hi, everybody. Well.
Hi, Will.
You did a really good job not looking at your sheet, your outline.
Yeah, it was a big piece of paper you were holding, sir. Kind of nervous about your memory, huh?
No, it's just I didn't realize necessarily how important the 5-minute limit was, and with issues like this, they're a little bit more complicated, so I don't want to breeze over things necessarily.
What was this time, Daniel, my brother? 4:15. Yeah, a minute.
I could have gone to 10:15, but I was trying to cut myself short.
Okay, well, you did. Improvement? You want to improve?
Yeah. So I noticed your body language was like very lackadaisical and not firm. Like, when he said walk 3 times, he means like walk to 3 different spots. Not just like lollygagging around the same spot back and forth. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And also like kind of wash your hands and legs. Like the moment you decide to walk, stay. And then let your hands take over. Don't like dance with your legs back and forth. Just another thing to watch out for.
You're in the power stance, feet wide on your shoulders. Pretend you're a tripod at all times, okay? Yeah. That's a powerful way to stand and speak. Well, I liked your... I always start on a positive note. I liked your passion. Don't let that thing go red. I liked your passion. I didn't like your speed. You zipped right along, and I would like some more vocal variety. You started with a Chinese proverb of not underestimating your opponent. I would have liked a reference to that Chinese proverb as a tieback. And so you say, I started with a Chinese proverb of not underestimating your opponent. I pray the Democrats do not make the same mistake they made with Hillary Clinton and underestimating their opponent. Because otherwise we'll have 4 more years of President Trump. Something like that. Okay? Yeah. Your thesis preview was numbered and fine. Your significant statement sold well to the audience. It will if Bernie wins and has a Congress that is with him. Those things that you mentioned might come to pass. So yeah, that was good. Yeah. On your first reason, you had a lot of good facts about the reach of President Trump. And I thought that was well argued and presented. Not a big fan of the Hive as a source, but at least you gave it, and it was in 2017.
3 minutes.
So 2 minutes left, so that was fine. Your idea of Bernie Sanders being able to connect with the voters was good. I'd like to see you in your remaining time. Can you show me that you can walk and talk 3 times? Just tell us about your morning.
All right. Well, this morning I planned on waking up at 8. Ended up being 10:30. Once I woke up, I took a shower.
Stop. When you come to a stop in this section, you get into the power stance. Good. Now, give them 3 to 5. Give a room 3 to 5 seconds.
I took a shower.
Eye contact. Yeah.
Okay, I took a shower. Got out of the shower. Got dressed. Made myself lunch.
Okay, now the second mistake you made is you always lead with the foot that you're walking in the direction of. So when you're going left, the foot that moves is the left. Yes, 2, 3. You just tried to lead with your other foot. Okay, and it's weird to cross. So let's see you go now to the left. That's 5 steps. 1, not scissor steps, just
walk.
Just walk. Start with your left foot, yeah.
Okay. After I made
it's a little further. So start over there. Let's see you get normally 5 steps.
So 5 steps